do this to grow more. Hey everybody, this is Michael with Asymmetrical Preparedness. The amount of stuff we grow in our gardens, the food, is very important. The more we can grow, the better off we'll be, right? We'll have more left over from what we eat on a regular basis, and I recommend you do that. It's healthy, it's nutritious, it's good for you, and it tastes better than store-bought. But the more we have left over, the more we can, dehydrate, freeze dry, freeze, whatever, set aside for later, for our preps, right? Hopefully you guys are growing at least something. Have a small garden, an herb garden, something, producing some of your calories. Very important. So how do we optimize what we grow? Well, taking care of the soil, right? Amending the soil. But I'm going to talk about composting. Composting is very important. I'm standing next to my compost bin right here. Here, I'll show you. That's one of my compost bins. You can see this one has already been composted down, except for some stuff we threw in there. The other side is composting down. You can see it over there. So it's part of a process. It does take time, so the sooner you get started, the better off you'll be. But I wanted to talk about some things that you can compost, because not everybody knows everything that you can compost. There's the obvious things, you know, all the trimmings from all your fruits and vegetables from inside the house. You know, you cut the banana peels is a good example, orange peels, apple cores, all those kind of things. All your melon rinds, the seeds, although those you should keep for your garden to grow food. That's very important, but you can compost them also. And if you do the composting correctly, build up the heat in there, they won't just start growing. I've made the mistake before, I still sometimes do, of not doing it in such a way where it builds up that heat, so I just have a bunch of stuff growing out of it. You know, it's a learning curve though. That's why you got to start now. So, fish can compost. I wouldn't do any other meats, but fish, especially if you're doing it on like a bi-year rotation where you let it compost down for a year or two and then use it in your garden. But you don't necessarily need to do that. Fish is great. You can take fish carcasses and put them in your raised beds, in your soil, stuff like that, till it in. Great. You know, fish compost, yeah, very good. Just like fish emulsion, fish fertilizer, there's the garden mix, like I do, like mushroom compost and topsoil mix. There's also fish fertilized compost and topsoil mix. Those are great for growing food. Awesome. Coffee grounds and the paper filters from your coffee pots if you drink coffee. All the veggie trimmings, like I said, the fruit peels, seeds, all the stuff like that. Used paper towels and toilet paper, not with human poo on them, but if you use a paper towel to wipe the sink down or wipe the floor down or something like that, throw in the compost pile. It composts, as well as that inner cardboard layer. Cardboard composts, except for don't use the stuff that has the lamination on it or a lot of the dyes in it and stuff like that, and make sure you take all the tape off before you do it. Be careful, you know, you got to be smart. Eggshells. Eggshells are great. I actually don't put, sometimes I do put them in the compost itself, but what I do is I let them dry on a paper plate in the kitchen, and then I just crumple them up. Sometimes I'll throw that in the compost, but a lot of times I'll throw it in the little coffee grinder that we got just for the purpose of using this and making our nutrient powder out of our dehydrated fruits and vegetables and leafy greens. But what I do is I make a powder out of it, which is basically a calcium powder, and I add that to my soil. Very good. Yeah, chicken poop, cow poop, horse poop, any animal poop that is not a meat eater, not a carnivore, herbivores, only from herbivores. Some people use human excrement. There's a whole thing to that. I don't even want to go into that because there's a lot of stuff I just don't feel comfortable with it myself. I'll tell you what I find out in there. Deer poo. You can go collect deer poo. Or moose or elk or other things. You know, all those things, like I said, herbivores. Grass cuttings. We mow our grass, throw them in the compost. Some people have a lot of grass and that's a lot of compost. You may not necessarily need that much, but you might. I would save it and throw it in a pile somewhere on your property if you have the space. But yeah, make use of it. fir and pine needles out there in the woods are covered with stuff, and as well as like the maple leaves, and all the leaves fall down from the fall. Throw that in your compost. That makes great compost. Nut shells, seed shells, hedge trimmings, moss, like that, growing right there. That is old man's beard growing right there, I think. I'm not a moss expert, but another thing is like blackberry trimmings. When we trim back blackberries, great for the compost. I have so many places and so many ways to make compost that I really need to probably make my compost system 5 to 10 times larger than it is. But I haven't got there yet. So I have some piles laying around also. Stuff you clean out of your gutters. That's all like tree leaves, droppings, pine needles, stuff like that. Cut flowers if they die. You buy your wife flowers, your girlfriend flowers, whatever. Whenever they die, throw them in the compost. Whenever you thin plants from your garden, you can, if you thin them and you have other places to replant them, great. Or you can cut the roots off. Make sure you do that. Don't want any of your roots in your compost. Then throw them in the compost. Let me see. Sawdust. Sawdust is great. You can also use it around your garden. You can use it for mulching around your plants, in your raised beds, in your in-ground areas, whatever, just till it in, stuff. There's a lot of stuff you can, or just lay it on the surface. Along with that, hay and or alfalfa or straw, stuff like that. Straw, though, it takes a very long time to compost because it doesn't retain the water, and so it takes a lot longer. So that's why people use straw bales for growing a lot in gardens and stuff like that, and putting around their plants, because it doesn't retain as much water unless they want it to retain water. A very wet environment like I am here in the Pacific Northwest, I would use straw. Somebody that's where it's drier and they want to add water and have it retained, use hay. Just a side note. Yeah, toilet paper rolls inside. Say you have birds or a rabbit or anything like that that is herbivore, clean out their cages, throw it in their compost. Same with chickens. Tea bags. Tea bags are compostable. Stale and or skunked beer. If you have a beer that you want to throw in there, or you want to quit drinking, pour it in your beds, your garden areas, compost, whatever. Fermented or bad juice, same thing, compost. Newspaper, or you can save that for fire starters. That's another good one. Pages of old useless books. I had some political stuff in there, but I'm not going to talk about that here anymore. I'm tired of getting shut down. We're just going to keep this on the board because we need to reach more people with this whole preparedness thing. Very important that we reach more people and get more people into preparedness. So we need to stay viable on this platform so that we can do that. Uncoated paper plates and bowls, but a lot of paper plates and bowls are coated, so make sure you don't put those in. Cardboard, whenever you empty out your vacuum bags from your house, all that hair, dust, dirt, all that stuff, throw in the compost. Cotton from pill bottles, same thing. Used paper straws, junk mail, hair from drains and or from cutting if you cut your own hair or something like that. Trimmings of your bushes, like I said, whenever you're doing your trimming up, you're mowing your grass, whatever it may be. You're pulling weeds out, just make sure you cut the roots off, throw them in the trash or throw them somewhere you don't want them. Put the other stuff in the compost. Pencil shavings, nail clippings, crushed seashells. Crushed seashells is a really good one if you live in an area like I do in the Puget Sound, close to Puget Sound. I can go collect seashells, put them in a container, and my son and I, we smash them up with a sledgehammer and or other hammers, create a smaller mixture. You can throw it in the compost or throw it in the beds. Ash from your campfires, your fireplaces, your stove, wood stove, whatever. Very good for the garden. So these are some things to think about to be able to do. But before I go, if you're still at this point in the video, hopefully you like the content, so please think of subscribing. Think of hitting that thumbs up, sharing the videos, commenting below, and if you want to find other cool adventures along kind of a different line, overlanding, that is dispersed camping, getting out in the middle of nowhere, identifying bug out locations, bug out routes, and the vehicles that it takes to do so, then check out our other channel, Haven Ridge Adventures, here on YouTube and Instagram. Please subscribe to us there, follow us there, watch our videos. Please help us get that thing rolling. You guys are part of the, you're part of the team. I mean, come along with our families. We ride along. We enjoy all these things. We see all this awesome scenery. We experience everything there is in the great outdoors and have a lot of fun doing it. So thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate all you guys. Have a wonderful day and blessings to you and yours.